The wind howled across the barren alien wasteland, carrying dust and ash from battles long forgotten. The ground was cracked, the sky covered with heavy clouds that glowed faintly red. In the middle of this dead land walked a lone human. His heavy suit hissed softly as it released small bursts of air, keeping his fragile body alive. The man's name was Oliver. His visor flickered with warnings: oxygen low, energy cells draining, hostile signals near. Still, he kept walking, one step at a time. He looked like a survivor who had no business being here, yet his eyes behind the cracked visor carried something more than fear. They carried determination. Unknown to Oliver, someone was watching him. High on the jagged rocks crouched an alien warrior, her sharp eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Her name was Karinus, one of the fiercest hunters of her clan. She had been following him for hours, silent and patient, like a predator waiting for the perfect strike. To her, this human was prey. She tightened her grip on the curved blade strapped to her back. Humans were strange creatures, fragile, weak, dependent on their machines, but rumors said they carried powerful secrets in their suits. Secrets that could be sold, traded, or used to bring glory. She had seen enough soldiers die to know that one working human suit could mean wealth for an entire family. When Oliver stumbled against a broken metal pillar, Karinus decided the time had come. She leapt from the rocks, her long figure cutting through the air like a shadow. Oliver barely had time to turn before she struck. "Stay down, human," she hissed, her voice sharp and filled with hatred. Oliver's suit screeched as her blade scraped across it. He staggered back, raising an arm to shield himself, but her strength was overwhelming. She was taller, faster, and burning with fury. Sparks flew as she ripped at his chest plate. "Please stop!" Oliver gasped, his voice weak, muffled through the damaged helmet. But Karinus did not stop. Her people had lost too much to humans, too many lives on too many battlefields. She would not waste this chance. With a roar, she tore the outer layers of the suit away, piece by piece, until finally she pulled hard and ripped open the chest panel. And then she froze. Her blade slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the rocks. Her eyes widened, and her breath caught in her throat. What she saw inside the suit was not the powerful human warrior she expected. Oliver was thin, too thin. His skin was pale, marked with scars that told stories of countless injuries. Small machines were connected directly into his flesh, wires pulsing with faint blue light. His ribs looked broken and healed many times over. His body was fragile, almost broken. This was no strong enemy. This was a man being kept alive by the very suit she had tried to destroy. For a moment, Karinus did not move. The hatred in her chest wavered, replaced by something she could not understand. She had faced humans in battle before, but never had she seen one like this. Oliver looked up at her with tired eyes. He did not fight back. He simply whispered, "If you take this suit, I die." The words hit her harder than any blade. Her hand trembled as she stared at him. She wanted to finish it. She wanted to believe that humans were all the same invaders, killers, enemies of her people. But something about this weak figure in front of her stopped her cold. The wind howled again, scattering dust around them. Oliver coughed, his body shaking, blood on his lips. He was not a monster. He was not even a threat. He was broken, vulnerable, and yet still alive. Karinus stepped back, her mind racing. What kind of human was this? Why was he here, walking through enemy land when every step looked like torture? Before she could find an answer, a new sound rose in the distant metal footsteps, steady and strong. Karinus turned her head sharply. Shadows appeared through the haze, soldiers, armed, armored, and moving fast. Oliver's visor flickered again. Alert, multiple hostiles detected. Karinus gritted her teeth. She was still holding onto the ripped chest plate of the suit. She had been about to take his life, but now a strange choice stood before her. If she left him, The soldiers would finish him. If she saved him, she would betray everything her clan believed. Her heart pounded. Her claws tightened. And Oliver, barely able to breathe, whispered again, this time not with fear, but with a strange trust. Don't let them take me. The alien warrior stared at him, her chest rising and falling. She had attacked him to strip him of power. But what she found instead was a fragile truth that she could not ignore. For the first time in her life, Carinus hesitated. And that hesitation was about to change everything. Asterisk. The red haze of the wasteland thickened as the sound of metal boots grew louder. Carinus clenched her jaw, every instinct telling her to run. Yet her eyes kept darting back to the broken human before her. Oliver's breathing was shallow, every exhale rattling like dry paper. His pale skin glowed faintly under the dying light, and the wires attached to his body pulsed weakly, struggling to keep him alive. He looked less like an enemy and more like a wounded child trapped inside broken armor. Carinus's claws flexed at her sides. She had stripped him of his defense, exposed his weakness. If she left now, the soldiers would finish what she started, and her clan would praise her for not wasting time. Yet something inside her rebelled. Something she did not want to name. Why are you here, human? She muttered, her voice sharp but quieter than before. Oliver's eyes flicked open, bloodshot and tired. He gave her a faint smile that confused her more than any weapon could. Not here to fight, just trying to get through. The words struck her like arrows. No fight? No invasion? Then why risk crossing enemy ground? Her people had painted humans as monsters, always bringing war and fire. Yet this one barely had the strength to stand. The boots grew closer. Harsh voices echoed through the mist, alien soldiers shouting commands. Carinus' ears twitched. She could hear the clank of rifles being readied. Oliver coughed violently, small flecks of red staining his chin. His visor flickered again. System failure, life support at 28%. Carinus cursed under her breath. She had two choices. Leave him and let the soldiers end him, or protect him, and risk being called a traitor. Her claws hovered over her blade, torn between duty and the strange pull in her chest. She had seen countless humans die. None of them had ever looked at her the way Oliver did, without hatred, without fear, but almost with trust. The first soldier stepped through the haze. His armor gleamed with clan markings, his rifle pointed forward. Target located. He barked, human survivor. Move in. Oliver's head dropped weakly. He whispered again, barely audible. Don't let them take me. Carinus' heart pounded like war drums. She had attacked him, stripped him, almost killed him. But now she couldn't let them have him. With a sudden snarl, she snatched her blade from the dirt. The soldiers saw her silhouette and stopped in confusion. Hunter Carinus? One of them called out. Why are you here? Step aside, we will capture the human. Her grip tightened. Her voice came out steady, though her blood roared in her ears. This one is mine. The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. The clan will want him alive. Hand him over. Oliver forced his head up, his weak eyes meeting hers. He didn't beg. He didn't plead. He simply waited, trusting her decision. Something broke inside her. She had lived her whole life believing humans were soulless enemies. But in this moment, she saw not a monster, but a man who clung to life with stubborn courage. Carinus bared her fangs. I said he's mine. Without another word, she lunged at the nearest soldier. Her blade sang through the air, sparks flying as it clashed against his rifle. The other soldiers shouted in shock, scrambling to respond. Oliver watched through blurry vision as she moved like a storm, her strikes fast and merciless. She was outnumbered, yet every movement was filled with rage and desperation. The soldiers fired. Blaster bolts lit the haze with blue fire. Karina spun, slashing through one rifle, kicking another soldier to the ground. She took a hit across her shoulder but barely flinched. Oliver tried to rise, his weak limbs trembling, but his body refused. His visor screamed, critical level power 15%. He knew he was minutes from collapse. Karina fought like a beast, her breath heavy, her claws dripping with sparks from broken weapons. Finally, as the last soldier fell back into the mist, shouting for reinforcements, she turned to Oliver, her chest heaved, her eyes blazing. "If I take you with me," she hissed, "my clan will brand me a traitor. Do you understand?" Oliver's lips curved into a faint, painful smile. Then, "Don't take me to them." The madness of the request made her pause. This fragile creature had no strength left, yet he was asking her to defy everything she had ever known. The echo of more soldiers grew louder in the distance. Time was slipping away. Karina cursed it again, then bent down, hooking one arm under Oliver's fragile body. He groaned in pain but did not resist. "You are a fool, human," she growled as she lifted him. "And now I am a bigger fool for helping you." Oliver's voice was faint, but it carried a strange warmth. "Maybe. Not a fool, maybe. Just different." Her heart clenched. She hated the way his words unsettled her. She hated that saving him felt. Right with Oliver in her arms and enemy soldiers closing in, Karina vanished into the wasteland shadows. She had made her choice, and it was a choice that could not be undone. Karina ran across the broken land, her long legs carrying her quickly over stone and dust. In her arms, Oliver felt like a fragile bundle, more bones than flesh, his suit sparking faintly as it tried to keep him alive. His weight was nothing to her, yet every step felt heavy because of what she had just done. The wind tore against her face, carrying with it the sound of angry shouts behind her. The soldiers were close, hunting with tracking devices. She knew they wouldn't give up. Not when a human was involved. She ducked into a ruined tunnel, once part of an old mining system. The walls smelled of rust and damp rock. Shadows wrapped around her, and for a moment, the noise outside faded. She placed Oliver gently against the cold stone wall. His chest rose and fell in uneven breaths. His eyes fluttered open. Why did you help me?" Karina growled low, half at him, half at herself. "I don't know. I should have left you. Maybe killed you. But I didn't." Oliver tried to smile, though pain twisted his face. Strange choice for a hunter. Her claws tapped against the stone. He wasn't wrong. Her whole life, she had followed orders, never questioning the clan's hatred of humans. And yet, here she was, defying everything, protecting one of them. "Tell me," she demanded sharply, her voice echoing in the tunnel. "Why were you out there? What were you doing walking alone in my land?" Oliver coughed, and a weak laugh escaped him. "Looking for something I lost." That answer made her frown. What could a human lose out here? He closed his eyes for a moment. Hope. The word hit her like a blade. She didn't understand it, yet it stirred something deep inside. Before she could question him more, her ears twitched. The sound of boots was returning closer, echoing in the tunnel's entrance. Karina tensed. She had no time to argue with herself anymore. She pulled Oliver back into her arms, whispering, "Stay quiet, human." He gave a faint nod. Too weak to resist, she moved deeper into the tunnel, her sharp eyes catching glimpses of faded signs and broken lights. The path split into two directions. She sniffed the air, listening carefully. Voices came from the left. She chose the right, sprinting into the darkness. The tunnel opened into a cavern. Stalactites hung like teeth from above, and a faint glow seeped from strange alien moss. Karina set Oliver down on a flat rock. His body shook, and the blue glow of his wires dimmed. "Your suit is dying," she muttered. "I know," he whispered, his voice faint. "It won't last much longer." Her claws clenched. She wanted to demand answers. Why was he broken like this? What kind of human survived by wires and machines? But instead of questioning, she found herself scanning the cavern for threats. The glow of the moss reflected in her eyes. She turned back to him. "If they catch us, I will not be able to protect you again." Oliver met her gaze with quiet determination. "Then don't let them catch us." His words carried no strength, yet they carried a strange fire. She hated how it unsettled her. Humans were supposed to be fragile cowards, yet this one spoke as if he had nothing left to fear. Suddenly, a beam of light cut across the cavern wall. Voices echoed again. The soldiers had found the trail. Carinus cursed under her breath. She pulled her blade free and crouched low. Oliver tried to rise, but his body betrayed him. "Stay down," she ordered sharply. "You'll only slow me." But Oliver shook his head weakly. "I won't. Be baggage. Tell me where to aim, and I'll help." She blinked, surprised. He could barely stand, yet he wanted to fight? Foolishness. And yet, his eyes burned with stubbornness. The soldiers poured into the cavern, rifles raised. Their leader pointed at her. "Carinus, step away from the human. You know what happens to traitors." Her heart pounded. She stood tall, blade gleaming in the moss light. Behind her, Oliver leaned against the rock. His visor cracked, his breathing shallow, but his hands gripped the remains of his damaged gauntlet. Where a faint spark of energy still hummed, the soldiers advanced. Confident, sure of their numbers, Carinus bared her fangs. "If you want him," she growled, "you'll have to go through me." The leaders sneered. Then so be it. Blaster fire filled the cavern. Sparks showered the stone walls. Carinus moved like lightning, her blade striking down the first soldier. Another shot grazed her arm, but she didn't falter. She fought with wild fury, every strike louder than the last. Behind her, Oliver lifted his broken gauntlet. The suit whined as it forced out one last surge of energy. A beam of blue light shot across the cavern, striking a soldier's weapon and sending him sprawling. The others turned in shock. A dying human should not have been able to fight back. Carinus grinned, her blood rushing. For the first time, she and the human fought together. Side by side, fragile and fierce. Against enemies who outnumbered them, the cavern shook with battle, but deep inside. Carinus realized something terrifying. She was no longer protecting. Oliver, out of pity, thought she was protecting him, because for reasons she could not explain. She wanted him to live. The cavern had gone quiet again. The smell of scorched stone and blood filled the air. Fallen soldiers lay scattered across the floor, their armor cracked, their weapons burned. Carinus stood tall in the middle of it all, her chest rising and falling, her blade dripping with black smoke. Oliver leaned against the rock, his broken gauntlet sparking faintly. His breaths were shallow, each one a battle of its own. The light from his visor flickered, warning signs glowing red. Carinus turned to him, her sharp eyes narrowing. "You could have killed yourself, human," she said, her voice a mix of anger and disbelief. Oliver coughed weakly, a ghost of a smile on his lips. "Wasn't planning to live forever anyway." Her claws tightened around the hilt of her blade. His words unsettled her. She had expected him to beg for life, to cling desperately like most prey did. Instead, he spoke as if his death was already written. "You are broken," she muttered, almost to herself. "Yet you fight like you have nothing left to lose." He lifted his head, his eyes dull but steady. "That's because I don't." The words echoed in the cavern, heavier than any weapon. For a moment, Carinus had no reply, but the sound of more soldiers in the distance snapped her out of it. She sheathed her blade and crouched beside him. "We cannot stay here. They will keep coming until we are both dead." Oliver tried to push himself up, but his body refused. With a growl of frustration, Karenis scooped him up again. He groaned in pain but did not resist. She carried him through a narrow tunnel at the far end of the cavern, the glow of the moss fading behind them. The air grew colder, the stone walls damp. After several minutes, they reached a chamber that had been hidden from the main path. It was a ruin, old and forgotten. Broken machines covered in dust stood in silence, their purposes lost to time. Strange symbols, half buried in moss, glowed faintly on the walls. Karina set Oliver down carefully against a fallen pillar. She examined the room, ears twitching for signs of pursuit. For the moment, they were safe. Oliver's visor blinked again. Power 9%. Life support critical. Karina snarled softly. Your machine is failing. If it dies, so do you. He gave a weak laugh. That's not news to me. Her fangs bared. Then why were you here, human? You must have known this suit could not keep you alive forever. His face turned serious, his voice low. I wasn't looking for survival. I was looking for a grave. Karenis froze. The words hit her like ice water. A grave? Oliver's eyes were tired, but they did not waver. I didn't come here to win. I didn't come here to fight. I came here because this land is where my unit fell. My brothers, my sisters, they all died here. I was the only one who survived. I thought maybe, if I walked far enough, if I pushed long enough, I could die where they died. Karina's chest tightened. She had expected lies, excuses, human tricks. But this was raw truth. He had not crossed enemy land as a soldier on a mission. He had crossed it as a broken man searching for an ending. For a moment, she said nothing. The silence stretched, filled only by the hum of his failing suit. Finally, she asked quietly, Then why fight back just now? If you want to die, why resist? His lips trembled into a faint smile. Because if I'm going to die, I don't want it to be in their hands. I'd rather fall fighting than be dragged like an animal. Karina's claws dug into the stone floor. She hated the way his words stirred something inside her chest, something she had buried long ago, respect. Before she could answer, Oliver's body shuddered. His visor screamed. Power 6%. Oxygen falling. Karina's eyes darted across the ruined machines around them. If she didn't act soon, he would die here, whether he wanted to or not. Her instincts as a hunter told her to let him go, to let nature take him. But something stronger pushed against that thought. With a growl, she ripped a panel from one of the ancient machines. Inside were cracked power cells, dead for years. She tore through another, then another, searching for anything useful. Finally, one flickered faintly with energy. She dragged it over, her claws sparking as she forced wires from Oliver's suit to connect. The system whined, then coughed to life. His visor blinked. Power stabilized to 12%. Oliver gasped, his chest rising stronger. His eyes opened slowly. You saved me again. Karina snarled, looking away. Do not think this means anything, human. You are still my enemy. But her own words felt hollow. Because deep down, she knew it wasn't duty or survival that had pushed her to keep him alive, that it was something else, that something far more dangerous. And as the distant sound of soldiers echoed faintly through the tunnels, Karina realized one more truth. Protecting Oliver had already chained her to a path she could never return from. The tunnels whispered with echoes of pursuit. Karina crouched near the cavern's broken entrance, her ears twitching at every distant footstep. She could smell smoke and hear the clatter of weapons being loaded. The soldiers were not giving up. Behind her, Oliver leaned weakly against the pillar where she had connected the old power cell to his suit. His visor still glowed red, but the life inside him had steadied for the moment. He looked pale, yet his eyes followed her with quiet focus. They'll keep coming, Oliver rasped, his voice barely above a whisper. "They won't stop until you hand me over." Karina's claws dug into the stone. He was right. Her clan would send more, wave after wave if needed. Not for him, but for what he represented. A human alive, a prize, a tool, a trophy. She turned to him sharply. "Do you know what they will do to you if they catch you alive?" He coughed, shaking his head. "I can guess." "It doesn't matter." Her fangs bared. "It matters to me." She stopped herself, realizing how the words sounded. She growled, forcing her tone back into steel. "I cannot let them take you. Not while you are mine." Oliver blinked, his lips curling into a faint, weary smile. "Yours, huh? That doesn't sound so bad." Karina stiffened. Heat rose to her cheeks, and she hated herself for it. This was wrong. She was a hunter, he was prey. Yet with every moment, the lines blurred further, the sound of boots grew louder. She pulled him up again, his fragile body pressing against her armored chest. He winced but did not fight. She carried him deeper into the tunnels, past broken machines and shattered walls, until they reached a shaft leading downward. "Hold on," she muttered, lowering herself into the shaft with him in her arms. The descent was rough, stone scraping against her armor. Dust rained down, stinging her eyes. Oliver buried his face against her shoulder, his breathing uneven. When they finally reached the bottom, Karina set him down carefully. The chamber was small, lit only by the faint glow of mineral veins in the rock. It was quiet, for now. Oliver's head tilted back against the wall, his eyes half closed. "You didn't have to come down here. You could have left me behind." Karina knelt in front of him, her glowing eyes sharp. "And let them drag you like a trophy?" "No, if you die, it will not be in chains." Oliver studied her, the corners of his mouth twitching into that strange, weak smile again. "You talk like someone who hates her own clan." Her claws scraped the ground. "I do not hate them, but I do not believe them anymore. For years I fought as they told me, killed as they ordered me. Humans were monsters, they said. But you—" She stopped, her voice caught in her throat. "You are not what they said." He gave a weak laugh, coughing blood. "Most of us aren't, but some are. Maybe I'm just the unlucky one you found." Karina leaned closer, her expression fierce. "Or maybe you are the first one I've actually seen." For a moment, the silence between them was heavier than any words. Oliver's eyes softened, and Karina felt something dangerous stir inside her chest. But then the ground shook faintly. Dust fell from the ceiling. A low hum echoed through the shaft. Oliver's visor blinked. Signal detected trackers nearby. Karina's ears flattened. They had found the trail. Reinforcements were closing in. She rose to her feet, her blade sliding free once more. "They are coming." Oliver struggled to push himself upright, using the wall as support. His body trembled, but his voice was steady. "Then let's not wait for them." She turned to him sharply. "You can barely stand." He smirked faintly. "Then I'll shoot from the ground." "Better than doing nothing." Her chest tightened. Fool, brave fool. She wanted to snarl at him, but instead she nodded. The hum grew louder. Lights appeared in the shaft above search drones. Soldiers would follow soon. Karina crouched beside Oliver, her blade ready. "When they drop down, I strike first. You use that broken gauntlet if it still has power." Oliver lifted his arm, the gauntlet sparking faintly. "One shot left, maybe. I'll make it count." The first drone descended, its light scanning the chamber. Karina leapt, her blade slicing through it in one stroke. Sparks rained down as its pieces clattered against the stone. Shouts echoed above. Ropes dropped, and armored soldiers began sliding down. Karina roared, her voice shaking the chamber, and launched herself at the first soldier. Blades clashed, sparks flying. Another soldier landed, rifle raised only for Oliver's gauntlet to fire one last blue beam. Knocking the weapon away, the fight exploded in the cramped chamber, metal against claw, light against shadow. Carinus moved like a beast, her fury unstoppable. Oliver, half broken, fought from the wall, his eyes burning with determination. And for the first time, Carinus realized they were not hunter and prey anymore. They were allies. The chamber stank of smoke and sweat. Sparks from broken drones flickered weakly on the stone walls. Carinus stood in the middle of the carnage, her chest heaving, blade dripping. Around her lay 3 soldiers, unmoving. But she knew this was not the end. More would come. They always came. Oliver slumped against the wall, his visor cracked even further. His chest rose in shallow, trembling breaths. The wires on his body glowed faintly, but the light was fading. Carinus turned sharply, her voice low and urgent. "Your suit is failing again." Oliver gave a weak, broken laugh. "It's been failing for years." Her claws tightened. She crouched beside him, eyes fierce. "Enough riddles, human. I need the truth. What are you?" His eyes met hers, tired but steady. "I'm what's left of a soldier who should have died a long time ago." Carinus narrowed her gaze. "Explain." Oliver coughed, blood staining his lips. His voice came rough, but he forced the words out. "On the day my unit fell, I didn't just survive. I was torn apart. My body couldn't keep living. So they rebuilt me, patched me together with machines. Not to save me, but to study me." Her ears twitched. "Study you?" "Yes." His voice grew bitter. "The military wanted to know how much pain a man could endure, how long a body could keep moving when it should be gone. I wasn't rescued. I was an experiment." Carinus' eyes widened. For a heartbeat, she forgot the approaching danger. "Your own people did this to you?" Oliver nodded slowly. "Not all humans. Just the ones who saw me as useful. A soldier turned into a tool. When they were done, they left me behind." Carinus' chest burned with rage, though she didn't know why. She had grown up believing humans were cruel to her people. But to do this to one of their own, it was worse than anything her clan had told her. "That's why I came here," Oliver whispered, his head falling back against the wall. "I didn't want to be studied, or hunted, or remembered as a machine. I wanted to end where my brothers fell. I wanted to rest." Carinus stared at him, her claws trembling. For the first time, she saw the truth beneath the wires, not prey, not enemy, but a man scarred deeper than she could imagine. But the moment broke as a low hum filled the chamber again. Not soldiers this time. Something heavier. The ground shook. A metallic voice echoed from the shaft above. "Target confirmed. Deploying capture unit." Carinus' snapped upward. From the shaft, a massive drone descended. Its body was armored like a beast, with claws of steel and a cage strapped beneath its belly. Its sensors locked onto Oliver instantly. Oliver's visor screamed. "Priority capture unit, Class Omega." Carinus snarled. "They're not here to kill you. They want to take you alive." Oliver's lips curved in a bitter smile. "Of course they do. I'm more valuable broken than dead." The drone's claws reached forward. Carinus leapt, slashing with her blade, sparks flying as steel met steel. But the machine was built for war. It shoved her back, its claws snapping inches from Oliver. "Go!" Oliver shouted hoarsely. "Leave me. If they take me, at least you'll live." Carinus roared, slamming her blade into the machine's joint. "Silence, human. You think I fought this far just to watch you dragged away?" The machine screeched, its arms sparking, but it kept coming. Oliver raised his gauntlet, but it sputtered weakly, no more power left. His body slumped, too weak to resist. Carinus' mind raced. She could not win this fight head-on. But then her eyes caught the old machines scattered around the chamber, rusted. Forgotten relics humming faintly with unstable energy. She made her choice. Snarling, she hooked her claws into the floor, dragging Oliver away from the machine. "Hold on," she hissed. He barely managed to whisper. "What are you doing?" Her eyes blazed. "If they want you alive, then I'll make sure they can't take you." With one hand she held him close. With the other, she tore wires from the old power cells, forcing them together. Sparks erupted, the air thick with heat. The capture drone advanced, its cage opening. Karinus roared and slammed, her blade into the rigged power cells. A violent explosion ripped through the chamber. Fire and light swallowed everything. The machine screeched, its armor cracking as it was hurled backward. Rocks rained down from the ceiling, the shaft collapsing in dust and thunder. Karenna shielded Oliver with her body as the shockwave blasted past them. His suit flared, warning screaming, but the blast spared him. When the dust settled, the drone was a broken heap, sparking and silent. The shaft above was sealed by rubble. Karenna's chest heaved. She was burned, bleeding, her armor cracked. But she was alive. And so was Oliver. He stared at her through his cracked visor, his voice hoarse. "You're insane." She smirked, blood on her fangs. "Maybe, but I choose who takes you, and it won't be them." Oliver's eyes softened, his voice a whisper. "Why? Why save me?" Karennis looked away, her claws tightening. "Because for the first time, human. Saving you feels more honorable than killing you." The silence after her words was louder than the battle, and though the tunnel still shook with distant pursuit, Karennis knew one truth. She was no longer fighting for duty. She was fighting for him. The cavern was a tomb of silence, broken only by the crackle of sparks from the shattered capture drone. Dust floated in the air like ghosts, and the faint red glow of Oliver's visor pulsed weakly in the dark. Karennis leaned against a broken pillar, her body torn and bleeding. Her armor was cracked, her blade nicked, but her eyes burned with defiance. She had survived the blast, though barely. And in her arms, Oliver stirred faintly, alive but fragile. For a moment, it seemed they had won. But then, the sound came again. Boots. Dozens of them. The tunnel shook with the march of reinforcements. The clan would not stop. Not until the human was taken. Not until she was brought down. Oliver's cracked visor blinked. Life support 5%. His voice was barely a whisper. "They'll come. Again. You can still leave me. Save yourself." Karennis bared her fangs, her voice rough and sharp. "I do not leave what is mine." Oliver tried to smile through the pain. Hunter's words. Her chest tightened. Once, maybe. But not now. The soldiers' voices echoed closer. Karennis gripped her blade, her body screaming with pain. She couldn't fight them all. Not this time. Not alone. Then, Oliver's trembling hand reached out, brushing her wrist. His touch was weak, but his eyes locked with hers. "Listen to me. There's still one way." Karennis frowned. "What way?" His gaze dropped to his chest where wires glowed faintly. "The suit. The core inside. It's unstable. If I overload it, it will explode. Strong enough to collapse this tunnel. Strong enough to stop them." Her breath caught. "That will kill you." He nodded slowly. "It was always going to end this way, at least. It will mean something." Karennis' claws dug into the stone. Rage flared in her chest. "No, you are not throwing yourself away. Not after everything." Oliver's lips trembled in a weak smile. "Karennis, I've been living on borrowed time since the day they rebuilt me. But you made me feel alive again, even for a moment. That's more than I ever thought I'd have." Her throat tightened, her heart pounding painfully. She hated this human, hated that he could say such words, hated that she believed them. The footsteps grew louder. Shadows flickered in the tunnel. Time was running out. Oliver's hand pressed the wires at his chest, his strength fading. "Help me do this. Let me finish it." Carinus grabbed his wrist, snarling. "You think I will watch you burn while I live? No, if this is the end, then we end it together." For a moment, silence hung between them. His eyes softened, glassy with exhaustion. Then, "I'm not afraid." The soldiers poured into the far end of the tunnel, rifles raised, voices shouting. Carinus rose to her full height, dragging Oliver up with her. Her blade gleamed one last time. She roared, a sound that shook the cavern, and charged. Blaster fire filled the air, streaks of blue light slamming into the stone around her. Carinus moved like lightning, cutting through the first wave, her body a blur of fury and defiance. Oliver clutched his chest, his fingers digging into the failing suit, forcing the unstable core to glow brighter. The ground shook. The air grew hot. Warning sirens screamed from his visor. Core overload 10 seconds. "Carinus!" He shouted, his voice ragged. "Go!" But she only tightened her grip on him, snarling back. "I said I do not leave you." The core pulsed brighter, the glow spreading through his wires like veins of fire. The soldiers shouted in alarm, realizing too late what was happening. 5 seconds, Oliver whispered, his eyes on her, her eyes locked with his, fierce and unyielding. "Then we die as warriors, not as captives." The last thing Oliver saw was her face, fierce and beautiful, framed by fire and shadow. And then the world exploded. Silence. When the dust finally settled, the tunnel was gone. Collapsed, buried under tons of rock. The soldiers were crushed. The way sealed. In the middle of the ruin, half buried in rubble. A faint blue light flickered. Carinus stirred. Her body broken, but alive, her chest rising with shallow breaths. She looked down. Oliver lay limp in her arms, his visor shattered, the wires dark. His eyes were closed. Tears burned at the edges of her vision, though she had never cried before. She pressed her forehead against his, her voice a low whisper. "You foolish human. You gave me something I did not know I could have." For a long moment, she held him in silence. Then, faintly, impossibly, his chest rose again, weak, barely there. But alive, her eyes widened. Against all odds, he had survived. The explosion had destroyed the core, but not him. She let out a shaky breath, half a laugh, half a sob. "So you refuse even death, truly? You are mine now." Outside, the wasteland lay quiet. The clan would keep hunting, the war would not end. But deep inside the tunnels, something far greater had begun. A fragile bond, born from blood and fire. A human and an alien, no longer enemies, something the galaxy had never seen before, and it would change everything.